Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters by Anfield Index. It is Monday, the 2nd of June. Transfer window one, I think we'll call it, is now officially open. There's business to be done. There's plenty of rumours. There's plenty of stories to get stuck right into. And I'm joined as ever by the renowned and the respected David Lynch. And David, even just this little 10-day window, it's going to be pretty busy and insane, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it definitely looks like it. I think a lot of clubs are trying to get some chunks of the business done quite early and get it done in that window just to have, as much set as they possibly can. And I think that's quite important for Liverpool actually because we obviously know that, it's going to be a busy one. And a lot of that is going to be dictated by potential outgoings, because there's a very, very long list of potentials who could leave. And so it makes sense to kind of have, if you can get 2 or 3 boxed off in that early window and know that's done, and then you have to get stuck into the rest in the later window, it makes sense to do that really. And they've done a lot of legwork on a lot of deals. They already got one over the line. There's a couple that could come into play this week before it's out. And the hope will be to get them done. And I think that is a sensible approach because, even if they do end up with 3 signings by the end of this week, there's still going to be an awful lot that they have to do to sort with in terms of outgoings and then replacements for those outgoings. So it's smart to get started early, I think. But I guess there's quite a lot of other clubs as well who are doing similar things because of Club World Cup, or just similarly to Liverpool, want to be as prepared as possible.
Yeah, it does feel like at one to the big drama that's set to come, and there will be plenty coming, no doubt, even this week. But before we delve into all the transfer stuff, there was a few other bits that I wanted to chat to you about because it was yesterday, was the anniversary, wasn't it? The 1st of June 2019, that famous night in the Wanda. And going back all those years, it was great seeing the photos, it was great seeing the videos, the atmosphere, and everything like that. What are your favourite memories of that night?
Yeah, well, it's just absolutely incredible. Probably like really a privilege to be there, to be honest. And I think my main kind of memory of the night was kind of a feeling of relief, really, because I think you've seen how good that team was and the steps it had taken. They just narrowly missed out on the Premier League, and I think if they'd have suffered defeat in the Champions League final, what an incredible blow that would have been. As it was, they got over the line in that final, and then that set them up for kind of an era of glory, really. But that was the first big one that they caught, and so it was, a bit relief, really, that the team managed to get over the line in a pretty ugly game. But it didn't matter to Liverpool that it was all about just somehow winning it, and they did manage to do that. And I think they showed a bit more kind of nous than Tottenham, and it was very much this team saying, we don't care what this game looks like. We are getting ourselves over the line by hook or by crook, and they did it. So as I say, I think feeling of relief around it. Good memories of. I didn't get much of a night out after, I'll be honest, because we finished up so incredibly late. I think I'd met my mates and had a couple of pints, and it was pretty much bedtime to get up and then start writing up all the quotes in the mix zone. But really, really good memories of the day, and one of those that kind of lived with me forever, really. We'll always remember kind of Jurgen Klopp coming up to me and giving me a big hug in the mix zone after as well. That was really nice. So, really good memories, and it starts of a kind of incredible journey, really, for this Liverpool side. It was actually the first season, from a personal perspective, that I'd been back out from working for the club. I was at the Evening Standard at the start of that season, and it went pretty well from then on in. So, really, really good memories.
Yeah, and crazy to think now, all this time later, there's what, one, two, three, four of those players will still be left at Liverpool by the end of the season. But yeah, famous memories from that one. And speaking of departures, we got plenty to talk about on this. But an assistant, maybe that wasn't the first departure people had posted of the summer. Johnny Heintinga is now Ajax's head coach on a 2-year contract. It's always difficult, I think, to assess an assistant and exactly what they do. But the impression you got from Arne Slot is, and the club, this feels like a bit of a loss for Liverpool.
Yeah, you can only kind of take the word of the manager around this sort of stuff, because it is very hard to get an idea of kind of exactly how much influence a coach has and what is the manager I did feel like I had a better feel of that around when it was Pep Lijnders, just from speaking to people around the club. But because this is a kind of still a very newish setup, or it feels like it to us, it is tough to get a real idea of that. I did think it was very interesting that Slot said in the embargo section a few weeks back that kind of if he's smart, he'll stick around with us rather than going to Ajax. So he obviously thought that maybe he could do with a little bit more experience. But I guess for Heintinga, so hard to turn down, isn't it? That opportunity to go back to Ajax and the biggest club in Holland, and they kind of just lost the title on the last couple of weeks, haven't they? So this opportunity for growth there to do better, but also probably a pretty good basis to work with as well. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. And in terms of whether it's a loss for Liverpool, as I say, very, very hard to judge. And even if the results are different next season, you probably can't put it all at the feet of losing an assistant manager. So it's very, very hard to say. But one thing you would say is that Liverpool tend to be quite good at replacing these outgoing coaches and players and everything like that. So I'm sure they'll make a smart appointment.
I was going to ask about the appointment because there's nothing concrete. We know Liverpool are looking clearly that the club have made that clear, but the names mentioned, you've probably seen them like Cow, Thiago, Stevie G in the mix as well. Etienne Rijnders' names come back up as well. Is there any sort of update on that? Or is it just that we know the club are looking at the moment?
Yeah, I think Dirk Kuyt's definitely in the mix. In terms of whether that's kind of advanced or anything, struggling to find out at the moment. But I'm pretty certain from kind of a couple of calls I made that he's in the mix at the very least. I think that might be true of Marino Pusic as well, maybe, who was Arne Slot's assistant at Feyenoord again. I just get the impression from conversations I've had that he's in the mix. I'm not sure we've kind of honed in, or I've certainly not got that impression right now at the moment that they've honed in on any particular candidate, but we'll see. Obviously, they'll want that in place by pre-season, so I imagine that story will move quite quickly. But that's a couple of names I can maybe vouch for being in the mix. But in terms of who it's going to be, and I know Etienne Rijnders, he obviously had trouble with the visas last time. I'm not sure whether that would have been resolved in any way. Obviously, he still stayed at Feyenoord. Would be quite an attractive option because he looks after set pieces as well, which is something Liverpool probably need to eke a little bit of improvement out of next season. So he's an interesting name, but I have no idea if the visa issue has been solved or not. So I can vouch for those couple of names being in there, but not sure about him. And maybe it could be a completely left field candidate as well that we've not necessarily considered.
Will be interesting to see who it is. I mean, one that we definitely know it isn't, Pep Lijnders. He's set to join, isn't he, Pep Guardiola at City? And there's real mixed views on this because people have quoted that interview we did where he said, I'll never be assistant again. It's management for me after being of Jurgen. Some people don't seem forced. Some people say, well, we saw what happened in the last season with him in charge of tactics. Where do you stand on this whole Lijnders to City scenario?
Yeah, it's a strange one, really. I mean, you can't maybe judge him on the quotes that he's around kind of never being an assistant again, because I guess a lot of that was based on that he would go out and be a bit more of a success. And clearly, it's just something's not working for him there when he is an out-and-out manager rather than a coach, which is a shame. And you can't do him down because, I mean, he's coaching at the very, very elite level of the sport, and he's won everything as part of Jurgen Klopp's team and had a profound influence on that, by the way. I will always bang the drum for that. For some reason, he became, amongst a lot of people, kind of a little bit of a bogeyman in some of the rougher seasons towards the end. But honestly, if people knew that the amount of influence he had on building that team that won the Champions League and won the Premier League, I think people would walk that stuff back because he had a lot of control over that. In terms of the tactical framework and building that up. So I think that would really surprise people, actually. So he's very, very good at that. It's just not working out for him as a manager. And I guess when that happens, then he's got to look at his options and move back to the northwest of England where he was comfortable and happy. Is attractive. Working with Pep Guardiola, of course, one of the greatest coaches of all time. That's got to be attractive to you. So you can't necessarily hold it against him and say, he's a massive hypocrite. Equally, there is emotion in football as well, and I think to go to Manchester City and try and aid them in their pursuit of trophies, that I think fans are allowed to be a little bit hurt by that as well. Be competing against Liverpool, trying to undermine Liverpool next season. and it's not very long since he left, and he said those things. So I can understand that as well, and I think it's fair. I think that's how we should all approach football: is to be, not angry but a little bit upset about that, maybe, because it's like I say, he's trying to hurt Liverpool, isn't he? Now coming into next season, which is not an ideal situation. So I can understand that emotion as well. But I think it's a smart appointment for City because, like I say, I think he's very, very good.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully it goes absolutely disastrously in this one, but time will tell on that. And other things that are coming this week. I mean, I didn't even realise till the club put it out. 20 Reds are called up for international duty. Some more formal games, some friendlies, some qualifiers, some in finals. Will you be watching any of the internationals at all?
Probably not, to be honest. I maybe try and avoid them, to be honest. I'm not averse to kind of switching off from football for a couple of weeks at the very least. Maybe I'll catch a bit of the Club World Cup when that starts. But I'm not going to go out my way to watch the internationals unless my wife's going out for some reason in the evening. I've got literally nothing else to do. But yes, I wouldn't mind a break from football, to be honest, because it's just absolutely constant, isn't it? I'm sure some of the players who are involved in this feel very similarly about it, to be honest. But I probably won't be keeping an eye on too many of these. I'm sure I'll see the highlights reel from a couple of players who Liverpool are interested in, at least.